I'm Spencer Kelly. Ever since the web became big business, providers of online services have become highly competitive. How quickly your search returns a result, how focused the information is, how well the algorithm gives you exactly what you want. They're all factors which will help you decide whether to use one website or app over another. We asked Sumi Das to find out how these elements are fine-tuned in the case of one particular company. And it's a company which started with an almost blank page.
When Google first launched, it drew users because it was fast and returned results that were relevant. Over a decade later, Google's goal of creating products that function accurately and quickly remains. One way the company does that is by thoroughly testing products in usability labs.
They're much like psychology labs, where we bring Google users in and we see where they make mistakes and where they do well, and then we work with designers and product people and engineers to improve Google products.
Today, it was my turn to be a guinea pig.
It's important to point out that we're not testing you in this study, you're helping us test Google search.
In other words, there is no right or wrong answer?
Not for you. From the Google perspective, we'll take all of your feedback and we'll use that to improve our product for other Google users.
That's exactly the kind of test that I like. So what exactly are we going to be improving today?
So we're going to observe you completing some tests on a Samsung Galaxy Tablet 10.0, and we're going to be using a new mobile eye tracking device. So we're really just getting set up. So your feedback is going to really help us improve both the product and our research practice as well. So please follow me in.
Google uses an assortment of research tools.
We use Tobii and SMI eye trackers. We use Apple and Dell computers. We use StreamPunk, which is a software package that allows us to stream all of our sessions live remotely. And Sumi, we'll have you have a seat right here in this chair, if you would, please.
Okay.
Of Google's 20 labs worldwide, this lab is the only one with a tracking device. For it to follow my gaze, my eye movement has to be calibrated. So when instructed, I look at the numbers on a metal plate placed in front of me.
And we'll start with 1, we'll go to 2, and when you're looking at it, I'll press a button. When you see green here and on the side, that means the eyes are in kind of the optimal area. Sending infrared light out of that, and then capturing it back, and it's bouncing off the back of your eyes, and you can tell where you're focusing.
That red dot ping-ponging across the screen represents my eye movement. I may look shifty-eyed, but Boyd says it's normal for subjects' eyes to dart around. Next, a few directions.
Here in this study, anything that comes into your mind, thoughts, feelings, surprises, expectations, we'd like you to share those with us because that adds a real depth of understanding to what you're doing as you complete these tasks.
As cameras capture my reactions and expressions from a number of angles, I'm assigned my first test to find out how old Lady Gaga is.
So I think that I would enter in Lady Gaga and age, and then hit go. Best guess for Lady Gaga age is 25 years. She's 25.
Not every search is so simple.
Task. What if you wanted to see recent Lady Gaga hairstyles? How would you find those?
I find snapshots of Gaga's gravity-defying do's, but then Boyd asks me to narrow the results to large-sized images.
I want the size of the images. Where is it? Where'd you hide it?
It's under a button on the right-hand side.
Is it this little gear button?
For me, that button seemed buried.
That was a clear discoverability issue in that you looked on the left-hand side of the page.
Couldn't find that wrench.
And you were used to the left-hand tool belt that we have typically, and that's where you look for it. So that's an issue where we've set expectations on the desktop and we're not matching them in this version on the tablet. And that's not a you issue, that's a Google issue.
Comforting to know that even billion-dollar businesses have issues. These are the kinds of hiccups Google aims to fix.
So we want to make sure that there aren't any critical failures, that people don't get lost, they understand how it works, that we understand their mental model, and that we're going to help people complete tasks quickly and successfully.
Not every Google product is a runaway success. Remember Wave? No? Obviously, it didn't make much of a splash. Testing products on a handful of people in the usability labs doesn't guarantee universal delight among users, but it may give Google a nudge in the right direction.
Sumi Das reporting from California. Okay, next up, a look at this week's tech news. There's been a mixed reaction to the launch of Apple's iPhone 5. Hopes of a wholesale redesign and features like NFC capabilities were dashed. In a nutshell, it's a faster, slightly bigger, lighter and thinner version of the 4S. It also supports 4G high-speed mobile data, bringing it into line with rivals. Some frustration too that after 9 years, Apple has changed the connector, meaning existing accessories need an adapter. More on the handset in a few moments. Meantime, iTunes has been upgraded to work better with mobile devices, and Apple has killed off its music social network Ping, which failed to take off. A new lineup of iPods was also announced, the most notable difference, the Nano's larger touchscreen and support for video. And now a network has been born which takes advantage of the new iPhone's 4G grunt. 2 years after mobile operators T-Mobile and Orange merged to create the company Everything Everywhere, it's now launched EE, the first 4G operator in the UK. 4G offers speeds typically 5 times faster than the current 3G network, and in some cases faster than home broadband. New 4G capable handsets will be needed. 6 are expected at launch. Finally, walkies. The US military has been showing off its latest piece of canine-inspired hardware, a 4-legged robot called, appropriately enough, Alpha Dog. It can carry up to 400 pounds of equipment over a distance of 20 miles, but unfortunately its designers have omitted features like controlling the robot by whistling or telling it to sit. Alpha Dog receives its instructions from a boring old touchscreen device. So, as we just heard, Apple has finally released its new iPhone, the one that everyone else in the world has been talking about for months, if not years. Well, Dan Simmons has popped along to take a closer look at it.
The first thing you notice about the iPhone 5 is its weight. You pick it up and it really makes a difference. It's like most other phones on the market, whereas the old 4 and 4S model had that extra weight on it. I think it's a very similar difference to between the original iPad and the iPad 2 when we first picked that up. You'll also notice that although it's a similar design, it's slightly longer. Apple have made it the same width across, but it's a longer screen, a 4-inch screen rather than a 3.5-inch screen, which is definitely the way the market is going. The processor is twice as fast, and you can see that in the way that certain applications work. Let me take the old one away and show you, for example, Maps. We go into Maps, we've got a flyby here, and we can actually rotate around. This is Big Ben in London, and you can see this is photorealistic as we move across the city. It's very impressive, especially with that fast processor under the hood. The other thing they've introduced is iOS 6. Now this is going to be big if you've got pretty much any iPhone from 3GS upwards, so anyone can download that from next week. FaceTime is better quality with the camera on the front of the phone, and it now works over the cellular network. So overall, pretty impressive. It supports 4G networks, so specifically LTE networks, which have now become common around the world, but other networks it supports on their 3G and HSDPA connectivity systems as well. There was speculation that it would include NFC, near-field communication. That's not inside this handset, and we've got a new connector they're calling Lightning, taking up much less space, which is how they've made it 20% thinner and 20% lighter. Overall, then, an impressive handset from Apple, and it needed to be, with other manufacturers bringing out some equally innovative handsets this year. But one question remains. When you look at that operating system, it's the same one, more or less, that came out 5 years ago, certainly in looks. And increasingly, more and more people are asking, what's the next look for the Apple iPhone?
And that is it for the short version of this week's Click. The full-length version is coming up a bit later on BBC News, or you can watch it through iPlayer right now. Go to bbc.co.uk/click and hit the iPlayer icon top right. Thank you very much for watching.